the CIA decided maybe they better divest themselves of any questionable program. So they passed along their psychic research to the U.S. Army, and eventually they created an operational unit of about 24 people, headquartered here. What you see here is the former bakery school at Fort Meade, Maryland, and they turned it into their remote viewing center headquarters. And according to the guys that were there, it looked pretty, as you can see, it looked pretty nondescript on the outside, but Dave Morehouse told me that the first time he arrived there, he thought, what is this old ramshackle wooden building? But then he got up there and found out they had a super high-tech push-button security and steel door on it, and he went, what is with this? And we went inside, and it looked like a bunch of hippies were living there. There were psychedelic posters on the wall and plants hanging off the thing everywhere, and so they really had something going there. I'm not about to go through all this, but this is basically the chronology of the development of remote viewing. They first began to call it Scan 8 because that was scanning by coordinate, and they still refer to it as coordinate remote viewing. It took me a long time, and I like to think of myself as smart, but it took me a long time to figure out what they mean by these coordinates. And basically, they are meaningless except for the thought concept in the mind of the person who comes up with the coordinates. But to back off, to begin with, they were actually using longitude, latitude coordinates, and then giving the coordinates to potential remote viewers, and then seeing how accurate they may be. In other words, if they gave them a coordinate for the North Pole, and the viewer began to describe white and ice and snow, and oh, I see a bear and he's all white, well then they know that he was on target. But after a while, they realized that you didn't need to have a longitude, latitude, absolute coordinate, that any number representing the target. And the best I can explain this to you, and this is very simplistic, and I can't even guarantee you this is the way it works, but what I figured out was, if I think of a target, let's say the Eiffel Tower, well, of course, I can't tell you as a remote viewer, go remote view the Eiffel Tower, because immediately you've either been there, you've seen pictures of it, and you get a mental picture of the Eiffel Tower, and then it's going to be pretty difficult to distinguish between the soft, subtle, psychic signal and just your daydreams or your thought pictures. So what I would do is give you a coordinate, 14598602. All you got is that number. But in my mind, I realize that that number correlates to the Eiffel Tower. Now, when I think this, and I think the Eiffel Tower, and I think that number, that is a thought form. That is an energy form. And that energy form goes on to the great universal energy grid, which we are all connected to. And if you want to get scientific about it, this is Einstein's unified field theory. The idea that we're all one and the universe is nothing but one big seething mass of energy. I'd like to think this wooden podium, it's solid. If I hit you over the head with it, trust me, your head's gonna hurt. But yet, rationally, we know that this wooden podium is nothing but a bunch of atoms mushed together. And when you stop and think about an atom, 98% of the atom is just empty space, except it's not really empty. You've got electrons and neutrons, and they're all flashing around in there. So what I'm telling you is that we live in an energy field, and that's the entire universe. And that's when you hear people talk about psychic things. You hear about things like Rife technology, where they use frequencies to, elevate your emotions or to cure you of certain diseases. That's just why it works, because you are manipulating the energy field. So they began to realize that all you had to do was come up with a number, and that thought form goes out on the grid. And if you are trained enough or sensitive enough then you pick up on that thought form, and your attention psychically, mentally, is directed towards the target. And then you begin to self-interrogate yourself as to the target, and you just go through basic questions. You know, is this natural, man-made? Well, it's man-made. Is it tall or short? It's tall. You know, are there people around it? Yeah, there's a lot of people around it. Is it in the Western Hemisphere? No. You know, is it in the Europe? Yes. You know, is it in a big city? Yes. And you just keep going until pretty soon you go, well, it's tall, it's metal, got a lot of people around. It's a big city in Europe, and oh, it must be the Eiffel Tower. And this is how the whole thing works.